As we sit in the middle of what's essentially peak off season for college football, I've noticed something, and I have a question for each and every single one of you, those who tune into SEC Unfiltered, that I know are diehard fans of not just SEC football, but college football as well. Do fans have football fatigue? Are we seeing this epidemic of people that are kind of tired of some of the changes in the sport and are more so leaning into college basketball, college baseball, maybe other things? Or is it something I'm looking too far into and reading too much into? Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure, as always, you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And always, we're brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get started with $150 in bonus bets today. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, guys, we're going a little bit of a different direction today. This is a little bit different content and something that's been on my mind for a little bit now, I'd say over the last month or so. We are coming off of an unprecedented college football season, a college football season that was incredible, I might add. I mean, you think about the parity and just on a week-in, week-out basis, the games we got to go to and some of the classics we saw. Our first season, obviously, with the expanded college football playoff, it left us with memories that we'll never forget. But what I've noticed over the last month or so is, and it's not just our content, and again, I know this is a little bit different, right? This is different than what we normally do, but I want to have a conversation with the fans of SEC Unfiltered, but also just fans of SEC football and college sports as a whole, because something I've noticed, and we have a very unique vantage point when it comes to content, when it comes to, the way we're seeing things through the lens of engagements and interactions and views and downloads, et cetera, et cetera. And I've noticed this not just with our content, but really content creators throughout the entire space. A lot of those, especially that cover college football on a full-time basis all year round, right? For us over at SEC Unfiltered, we're talking basketball. We're talking baseball. We don't just do football here. But I've noticed this, and I want to put it out there for the masses, and I simply want to ask the question, do college football fans have football fatigue? And if they do, what is the reasoning? Because I think that fans do. I'm someone I've always been able to, I feel like, relate to the common fan, because I myself, before I ever entered this space and started my own ventures, I think I related to the common fan. I think I was the common fan in a lot of ways. Not to say that I wasn't a diehard, but I related to the common fan very much from the standpoint of, yes, I was a diehard fan, but had things going on in my own life, had relationships, had friends, had travel, had other things that were competing for my time and my emotions and my energy, which is how many of you are that are tuned in. So I'm curious, because as I look at things across the landscape, and again, like I mentioned, got a very unique vantage point because, we're able to track through engagements, through views, through downloads, what have you, those various channels, social media, YouTube, probably wherever you're consuming this right now. I think what's interesting, because I'm someone, the college football perspective, and on the bright side, I think fans are leaning into college basketball and even college baseball probably more than they ever have before. But I'm noticing this trend, and I'm curious if you guys feel the same way, because I low-key feel this a little bit, because we always love talking college football. We love it. But especially this time of the year. We just came off of the longest season in college football history. I don't know about you guys. As much fun as we had, it was a long season. I mean, it felt very, very long. And it's not shortening up anytime soon, right? Moving forward, we're going to be January 22nd, 23rd. I think one year we got January 25th is going to be the national championship game. And I will always love college football, like many of you out there. I will never stop loving college football. But I feel college football has never been less likable than it is now. Like it is a less likable product. Two things can be true at once, as my good friend Dave Shoemate likes to say. I'll always love college football, but it's less likable than it used to be. I mean, I think with all the rule changes and the portal and again IL, it's exhausting. Again, that's why I go back to football fatigue. It's exhausting for people. Now I'm seeing a report earlier today, good friend of mine, Brandon Marcello, guys, apparently spring games might go away. We might be going to OTAs. We might be going to OTAs, spring practice, and spring football essentially being dead as we once knew it. The game is becoming unrecognizable. The sport that we once knew is all but gone. Again, I feel like, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. This is an open-ended conversation, who would agree. And as I mentioned, much different than our normal content. But it feels as if, to me, for the general audience, and this is a college football-wide issue, by the way. This isn't just an SEC Unfiltered issue. This is an issue I wanted to bring to the forefront and get the response from the masses because I think it's something that affects us all as fans of college football. Is the sport's far from dead, because I've said many times, the business of college football has never been better. The game, though, from the diehard fan perspective, you could argue, has never been worse, and it feels like maybe, guys, it's getting worse by the day. Like, it's becoming NFL light more and more and more with each passing day. And now you got this spring practice thing where, again, spring football is essentially dead. And I'm someone, listen, I get it. I get why a coach would not want to have a spring game. I totally understand. Why put on essentially a showcase of your roster out there for the masses to tune in and coaches can watch and then they can tamper and they can reach out to players on your roster and offer them an NIL deal, essentially steal them off your roster, especially if it's a guy who's a diamond in the rough and you're like, hey, nobody knows about this kid. And then you're just going to essentially put his film out there for all these different coaches and these big programs to watch so they can tamper and poach your players and bring them on campus. I get why you wouldn't want to do it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But does it make college football more likable or less likable? I think the answer is pretty simple. It makes it less likable. Does the idea of going away from spring football to OTAs make college football more likable or less likable? I think it makes it less likable, guys. I mean, let's be honest. The transfer portal and NIL, does it make college football more likable or less likable? I'm all for guys getting paid. I'm all for guys having the opportunity to better their own situations. But at the rate at which it's happening and how it's happening and what it's doing makes it less likable. I still love college football. I know you do all as well. But I think if we're all honest with ourselves, it makes it less likable. And so I think that leads to, again, I've evaluated many in the space. Again, those that cover college football full-time, part-time, some of the time, what have you. And just glancing at the numbers, and I'm like, numbers are down for everyone across the board. Everybody who's talking college football right now is fighting a fight every single day to get folks fired up. And I don't think it's them. I don't think it's us. I don't think it's anything of the sort. I just think there is a football fatigue out there. And like I mentioned, the bright side, people are leaning more into college basketball. They're leaning more into college baseball, which is great because I love those sports. You guys know I'm a huge baseball guy. But I think the developments within our sport are really interesting. This offseason, what compelled me to make this video, this offseason just feels different to me than any other I can remember. Because you always had an offseason. I've always believed there was an offseason, right? But this one feels different. Like there's really, this is the first offseason I can really recall where there's not still a hunger for college football. I think some folks are enjoying the time off from the sport. I think some folks are really relishing in, diving headfirst into these other sports. I wonder how much of that has to do with, we understand the portal and NIL and that exists in college basketball and college baseball, but not as prevalent. It's not as in your face. It still feels like there's some semblance, dare I say, of purity in those sports, especially like a college baseball where I mean, with JUCO and all that, that's been around. Transferring's been around forever. So it doesn't really even change the game all that much. And, guys are still fighting to get drafted, and it's about getting to the next level. It's not just about signing an NIL check. So I think there's this semblance of purity still in college basketball and college baseball that I think maybe college football is losing or has all but essentially lost. Again, this is an open-ended conversation, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments and wherever you're consuming this content, social media even. Do you have football fatigue? Because I can feel it. I feel like, again, I've always had a way to tap into what the audience is feeling. And it certainly feels like, again, looking across the landscape, this isn't just an SEC Unfiltered thing. This is I see many out there that cover college football full time, whether it be on YouTube, it be on social media, whether they do a daily live show, they do segments, however they package their content. The numbers are down across the board. The numbers are down. And you expect to slow down this time of year, don't get me wrong, from the football perspective. But this is the first time I can recall really seeing like a lack of hunger for that kind of content, a lack of hunger for that coverage. And I can't help but think the changes in the sport, things like spring practice potentially going away, OTAs replacing it, no spring games, the increased presence of the portal, of NIL, of conference realignment, of the college football playoff expanding and the season getting longer and longer and longer. It feels like today's college football fan, they still love it, but the game is less likable. It's less likable than it's ever been. And there's a semblance of fatigue that is set in for the common fan that I think folks are actually enjoying some time away and are enjoying having a true offseason. So, guys, again, this is a little bit different than our normal content. It's very different. Call it for what it is. But I wanted to have a chat with you guys. This is something we've been talking about off the record. But I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Do you have football fatigue? Am I just pulling this out of thin air and this is something that isn't real? Or do you guys feel this as well? Is the sport becoming less likable for you? Is it kind of deterring you from consuming more football content? If that's not the case, would love to hear that as well. I think it's a conversation worth having as the sport continues to evolve and it continues to change. Guys, something that doesn't change is the fact that FanDuel is a proud partner and the presenting sponsor of SEC Unfiltered. Guys, when the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. So even if you miss the first few minutes of the game or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and up and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and up and present in D.C. First online real money wager only, $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Once again, friends, I appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, by the way. We're on the chase to 50,000 subs on YouTube by end of year. That is our goal. Would love to help you guys, help us achieve it. So again, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Once again, guys, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.